Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bills Roundtable, your go-to show Mondays and Thursdays to discuss everything Buffalo Bills. Today's topic, most notably, the Buffalo Bills' very weird win against the New Orleans Saints. But like it or not, baby, we're 4-0. All right, we are one of the only two teams in the NFL that have that honor. And I got to tell you what, the Colts and the Chargers ended up dropping their game, and the 1 seed looks even more attainable than it did a couple of weeks ago. We're going to be unpacking everything on this episode. Let's go around the table and see how everybody's feeling. Z-Bot, what up?
Yeah, weird is the operative word, Dan, right? Because this is 2 weeks in a row where you score 31, you win by double digits, and you walk out of the game saying, I don't know. But then you reflect on it, 24 hours removed now. That's when I think it settles in, right? You look at the Chargers yesterday, they lose to the Giants. These games are not gimmies. And as Sean McDermott said in his post-game, huddle there when they were in the locker room, nothing's easy in the NFL. Winning's hard, no matter who you're playing. The Bills are going to get everybody's best shot. They got the Saints yesterday. They're going to get everybody's moving forward. And they found ways to win in different areas. The defense was not great yesterday. There were times where Allen had played beneath what we're expecting of him as of late, right? He was kind of taking shots we weren't used to him taking. Maybe that was because he saw an opportunity in a game against a lesser opponent where maybe I'll try a couple extra things today. Here's the reality. The Bills are in a position where they're able to do that and still get out victorious. So yesterday, a couple of head-scratching moments, but at the end of the day, 31-19, you're 4-0, and it's really hard to complain when you are one of the two remaining undefeated teams and the only undefeated team in the AFC. So no complaining from me.
Love to see it. Kev, what's up, man? How you doing?
Fine. Doing fine. One of the only teams to be 4-0 in the league, only team in the AFC. I just think we have some unrealistic expectations on a game-to-game basis in September against an NFC opponent and someone you haven't beaten at home since the 90s. There's definitely, you're not familiar with each other. I thought the Saints had an offensive line that they hadn't had in the past. They didn't commit any penalties, and that's why you get 12-point games. 15-point spreads are always kind of crazy to me. I never love them. So to me, look, would you rather be the Ravens? Would you rather be the Colts who aren't able to get it done? Would you rather be the Chargers who lost to the Giants on a rookie's first start? Ultimately, you have to survive in advance in September. Nothing translates, in my opinion, positive or negative into January. You need to be playing your best ball later in the year. Get the 1 seed, and this is how you do it. You have to win these kind of scrappy games back to back. Maybe the next one's your stinker, or maybe you go to Atlanta and destroy them. But you're not going to win by 30 every single week. It's just not realistic. The Patriots made a living off of it during their dynasty, winning one possession games, winning. I think their average margin of victory during the dynasty was 6 points, is what I just recently saw. So you're just not going to destroy teams. Look at the Chiefs last year, who made it all the way to the Super Bowl with a pretty poor offensive roster, but they were just good when it mattered, and they're definitely good in one possession games, blocking field goals, etc. Dan, I couldn't be happier than to be 4-0 right now. I think we all sign off in ink. Like to stop the run a little bit better, but that's about where I am.
Yeah, we had Kendre Miller out there looking like the next coming. Right?
Whatever.
Yeah, hey, you know what? It is what it is. Jake, what's going on, man? How you feeling?
Feeling good because the Buffalo Bills are 4-0, and at the end of the day, that's what matters. It wasn't always the prettiest game. There were some ugly moments, but the Buffalo Bills emerged victorious, and that's what matters. The Buffalo Bills, they advanced to 4-0, and the team that they were going up against, the New Orleans Saints, sure, they do not have any high expectations for the 2025 NFL season, but when you look at them, Spencer Rattler, now 0 for 10 in his NFL career as a quarterback. So you also look at the team itself struggling, coming into this game with no wins. So that's a lot of motivation that team had. They're giving the Bills their best shot, as was mentioned earlier. So I think that the Buffalo Bills emerging victorious, just got to celebrate the win and move on to the next one.
Yeah, you know what, man? Live in the present. All we could care about is our next opponent. Like I said, I think that a lot of people get too hung up with, I'm not sure if this team can get past so-and-so in the playoffs. I'm not sure if this team could win a Super Bowl. I think that is a very dangerous way to live. I think that it calls for a lot of misery in your life. I think that context is important. Some people might call it, like being negative, or like some people might say that, hey, all you're giving is excuses. But I do think that context is very important when you look at this game. Folks, we literally saw a Super Bowl type playbook from Kellen Moore against the Buffalo Bills. We have seen Super Bowl playbooks from the past 3 matchups that we have played. Like Kevin has said, they ran the damn Philly special. Thank God Cole Bishop came down with the interception at this point. But I like looking at it from this. You had a team that got the doors blown off of them from the Seattle Seahawks just a week ago. And if you didn't think that this team was not going to go back to the drawing board, make sure a brand new head coach was going to go into Buffalo and not give his best possible game plan against the team that was undefeated, that was not at least going to try to rise to the occasion and compete. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I can tell you this a million times. This is not Alabama versus a community college. At the end of the day, sometimes there's going to be some sweats. I'm just glad that Buffalo ended up walking away with the victory. Don't worry. We still have some criticisms that we would like to give because, yes, there's things that we would like to see improve from this team. But I'd like to start off with a little bit of positivity. I kind of want to talk about standouts. My favorite player, hands down on Sunday and perhaps even the season, again, James Cook. Holy hell. I look silly because last offseason I was saying a lot. And I was like, dude, you know what? I think Ray Davis could get it done for us, right? If we don't sign James Cook. And dude, like, you just watch him play and me just reacting to it during my live play-by-play. I was telling my chat, I'm like, I swear to God, this man is just an automatic 4 or 5 yards every single time he touches the football. His vision is absolutely elite. He oftentimes makes the first and the second man miss. Solid blocking scheme. I really think Hawes being added to the equation has opened up a lot more possibilities. But Cook's going off. But one thing that kind of is like a head scratcher for me too is that I look at some of the other carries, how that was distributed, and Ray Davis got like 11 carries, right? I'm not sure if the front office is just like, all right, James, it's time for you to earn that contract. Hence why you're getting all the carries. Because, guys, I got to tell you.
11 snaps, Dan, right?
Yeah. James Cook has almost double the carries of Derrick Henry. Has 7 less than Saquon Barkley. I'm sitting here being like, is this the front office's way of saying, hey, dude, you're going to earn your contract right now? Or was it because the games were closer and that's why we're seeing so much of him? I'm trying to figure out like what Buffalo is doing because I heard an ESPN analyst say that James Cook allows Josh Allen to be like Clark Kent. I love that analogy. And then say that he needs to be Superman. He can be. But I'm really curious to see like what the true plan is for RB2 and RB3 because it's been all James Cook. And I really hope that man can stay healthy because he's on pace for like 300 touches this year. Have thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, it wouldn't be shocking to me if at some point the Bills were like, if we're going to pay you, you're going to take 80% snaps now. Like, you're not going to do the 45%. We're not going to do the share. You know, you're going to have to pass block. You're going to have to be in every situation going forward because you're getting paid to do so. You know, we're not going to pay you 10 plus million for you to be a rotational back and have people talk about it. Can Ray Davis do what you can do? You need to show every down. And I would not be shocked by any of that because it's proven by the snap count, by the carry count, by pretty much everything that some form of conversation happened around the extension that said you're going to play more. Like, look, we can't justify paying you what you want at 47% of the snaps. Like, you need to do more. And it makes sense. They copied the Eagles' philosophy and they said, we think you can do more. You had a limited college. You were timeshare in college. There's no reason why, you know, you've had limited carries in your career for your age and for your talent. So the Bills cashed in on that and said, now it's time. And they've been right so far. And I was right there with you. I wasn't so high on Ray Davis. I just thought the Bills were so good offensively, and offensive line is very good. It's been really great. Number one again in run blocking. There's nothing to do with Cook. Independently, their run block win rate is number 1 in the NFL.
Awesome.
So that's nothing to do with who could be me playing running back. But I thought that would translate to them not needing to spend $12 million. But part of my argument was I can't have him taking 40% of the snaps. I can't have him off on every third down. I can't have him off in pass block situations. He's been doing those things. He's been proving everybody wrong. He's right up there with Saquon Barkley in terms of what I think is the number. I mean, he went from top 10 running back to top 3 literally to start the season. So, guys, pretty excited to see it. He's got a number 1 run block line in front of him. And I don't think that you just don't need that. Those guys just aren't getting touches anymore. Like they're just not playing well. I don't think Ray Davis had a really good preseason. And ultimately, the Bills are giving those carries and that run to all James Cook and James Cook only. And I think he is helping out Josh Allen a lot. I tweeted they're number one in pretty much every run metric. You name it, any EPA run metric, you pick it out. And that's a combination of Cook, a little bit of Josh, and the offensive line. So they're winning football games like that. It's boring. We're not used to it. We've been asking for it, though, back when the Dable days and even the Dorsey days of like, why don't we run the ball? Here it is, and this is what it looks like, guys. It's not going to be Josh Allen 30-yard dimes every single game, minus the fourth quarter of Baltimore. Just not. Baltimore Ravens are a mess, by the way, and their entire defense. So we could be them. That they were supposed to win this. This is how it looks. We're playing safe football, and James Cook's part of the reason why, and he's proving me wrong. I thought that they should take him for a day 2 pick. So I'm excited to have a top 3 running back in the NFL, mixed with a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, mixed with a top 3 offensive line in the NFL, mixed with a top offense in the NFL per every single metric.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Z-Bot. So what do you think about Jimbo?
I think James Cook's the best running back in the NFL through the first month of the league, or through the first month of the season. And the numbers justified. If we're talking about why is he getting so many carries, well, because he's averaging over 5 yards per carry. If you're Joe Brady, how do you not give him the ball? That's the thing. You now have 4 consecutive games, the only 4 they've played, where he has 100+ all-purpose yards in every single one. 3 consecutive 100+ yard rush games. He's scored a touchdown in every single game. The guy's been incredible. And when you're watching him play, it's not just the fact that he's behind that great offensive line, but it's the vision, the elusiveness, the movement. The guy just looks the part. And when you couple that with Josh Allen and the offensive line, man, is it a match made in heaven. And yesterday was even more impressive because Spencer Brown's not out there. This offensive line is what it is in large part because of Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown. And when you get 22 carries for 5 yards a carry and 117 yards, I don't care if you're going against one of the poorer defenses in the league, you're missing one of your anchors on the offensive line, and you still do what you do. He was dominant yesterday. He's been dominant in pretty much every single game. And I love the fact that they're giving him these carries because Joe Brady, the one thing that I always thought he did exceptionally well and the noticeable difference among many between him and Ken Dorsey was his willingness to stick with what was working. He's talked about this in the past, but it's visible if you watch every Bills game. He sticks with what's working. And what's been working is James Cook running the football. Outside of the Baltimore game where he only got 13 carries, he's had 19+ in every game. And in every one of those games, he's had over 5 yards a carry. So it's really hard to justify not giving him the football, and they haven't had to justify it. And I was having a conversation post-game yesterday. People were talking about how this offense needs to prove that they can win without establishing the run game. And I said, why? Why would you have to prove that you have to win that way when you're winning this way already? I mean, the defense needs to prove that they can stop them. And also, you think Josh Allen can't win a football game on his arm if that's necessary? There's no need right now to be concerned about the Buffalo Bills offense, despite at times them fizzling out. Like yesterday, there were a couple of drives where you're scratching your head like, what was that? But at the end of the day, it's 31 points. Josh Allen has an incredible day, despite visually it not seeming as though it was up to Josh Allen's standard. And then James Cook just once again continuing to roll here. I mean, he's as good as it gets right now in the NFL. And when you look at that contract, I'm not entirely sure if it has to do the numbers he's getting the ball with or the amount he's getting the ball. I don't know if it has to do with the contract. Maybe it does a little bit. I'm sure they want to justify the money spent. I get that. But I think it has a lot more to do with what they're doing every time he's given the ball. If they weren't putting up these numbers, you would see more passing. You would see an inflated Josh Allen stat line. They're not going to continuously go to the well if there's no water in the well. Right now it's overflowing, Dan, and I'm waiting to see a team that's going to be able to step up and stop it. We haven't seen it yet. James Cook right now is as pivotal to this offense as anything. And when you have Josh Allen, maybe the best player on the planet in the entire league, that sure as hell is saying something. And Kevin alluded to it, right? Right now you might have the best quarterback, the best running back, and the best offensive line. You really couldn't be in a better position right now if you're the Buffalo Bills offensively.
It's a quality setup. Jake, thoughts on Jimbo, man? In this run game.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild that if it was just a few months ago, we were having discussions about James Cook holding. We were having discussions about the potential of giving him a contract or letting him walk, moving on, trading him. I'm glad that he is staying because James is cooking. The Buffalo Bills have a 4-0 record, and it's come on the back of number 4 and number 17 for the Bills. Josh Allen, James Cook, those two in the backfield together, a lethal duo. And James Cook, he has been the most reliable offensive weapon for Josh Allen here for, although maybe you could date back to the end of the 2023 season even. So James Cook, just so efficient, and it's like he's greased up when tacklers are trying to bring him down. He's so elusive. He's a perfect mix of elusiveness, speed, agility. He's got it all, and the Buffalo Bills are utilizing him to perfection right now. Just got to keep that going moving forward. Let James cook.
Let Jimbo cook, indeed. So my standout obviously was Jimbo, was Cook. Z-Bot, one player that impressed you on Sunday.
Well, hold on. Before we get into a player, we're talking about standouts, and I got to talk about the one thing that's standing out to me the most right now, because this is insane. I can't get over it. There are updated odds, betting odds for the 1 seed in both conferences. This is absurd. I've never really seen anything quite like it.
Yeah.
The AFC, let's start with the NFC. The Eagles right now, who are also 4-0, the only other undefeated team alongside the Buffalo Bills, they are plus 230 to get the 1 seed, which is marginally in front of the Lions at plus 400, the Packers at plus 600, the Rams at plus 650. So there is a group of teams all within the same sort of vicinity. Obviously, the Eagles, the favorite there, but not heavily. You take a look at the AFC. We are not even in October. The Buffalo Bills are minus 225 to get the 1 seed. So if you bet $100 on the Eagles to get the 1 seed, you'd win 230. You'd have to bet almost 230 to win $100 on the Bills getting the 1 seed. The next closest, Dan, the Chargers at plus 500. This is absurd. And last week, I know we talked about those statistics, and Kevin did a really good job of pointing out how those are based on what has happened up until this point. They're not predictive of the future. This is predictive of the future. And right now, the Buffalo Bills are minus 225 to get that 1 seed. So when you're walking away from that game saying, I don't know, it was the Saints and the run D, and man, I don't know, Allen took a couple of shots I didn't love, minus 225 to get the 1 seed. They're playing the long game here, and it's evident, and it's working out. This is an incredible start. And when you're factoring in everything going on around them, it's just nuts. Now, in terms of on the field, the one player that stood out, James Cook was the obvious answer. I think he could have been the answer, like you said, Dan, in every week here. I really do think that he is the standout player through the first month, and that is exactly what you'd want to say if you're a Bills fan after signing that contract. I thought that Brandon Beane really hit the sweet spot on that contract, but surely we all know that there was people out there not satisfied with the amount of money given to James Cook. He's justified every dollar through the first month. The one other player, though, that stands out to me, and I know it was in a minimal capacity yesterday, but overall throughout the start of the season here, including yesterday, because the one catch he did have was the ultimate difference. It wound up being the nail in the coffin that put that game away. It's Dalton Kincaid. We were saying Dalton Kincaid has to step up this season. If we were looking at this offense going into it, we were saying we need James Cook to have another year like last year. So far, he's on pace to shatter what last year was, and that was leading the league in touchdowns, 1,000-yard year. I mean, right now he's on pace for 22 touchdowns and 1,600 yards. So you're getting that. You needed to see Keon Coleman step up. And even though they haven't been passing it a ton in terms of how you think a Josh Allen-led offense would, Keon Coleman's been contributing consistently, and they don't win that game week 1 without him. So you can argue he's certainly stepped up. But how about Dalton Kincaid? He's off to the best start to a season of his entire career. He only had 2 touchdowns in each of the last 2 seasons completely, right? 2 touchdowns his first year, 2 touchdowns the year after that. 3 touchdowns already this season. He's clearly been a go-to target for Josh Allen. And that play yesterday was gorgeous. Down the sideline, gets himself wide open. Allen made a beautiful play looking off the defender, making sure that Kincaid had that route wide open, hits him in stride. Kincaid's been a difference maker in every single game. And despite only having 1 catch yesterday, he made that 1 catch count. And I think throughout the first month here, he really has been as impactful on this offense as anybody has been. Once again, you said going into the season, at the end of the first month, if you're looking back saying, wow, first month in the books, and James Cook seems like he's underpaid after that contract, you also wanted to be sitting here saying, wow, Dalton Kincaid's looking like that first-round draft pick, looking like that guy he was projected to be, supposed to be for Josh Allen. That's what we're saying right now, too. So Dalton Kincaid, to me, not only yesterday, but through the first month, stand out. And that's exactly what I was hoping I was going to be saying heading into October.
Damn. Finally, Dalton Kincaid living up to his first round pedigree. We've been waiting for that. Kev, who stood out to you, man? Like, what was a player not a lot of people were talking about that deserves their flowers?
And I mean, you guys have taken some pretty good options with, James Cook, 2, 3, and 4. Week 1 could have gone to Coleman. So other than that, like you're looking at, okay, who made a difference to me yesterday in this game? I think it's pretty simple because I think it's a much talked about position group and it was talked about all offseason. It's safety. It's Cole Bishop. Look, at the Philly special, you mentioned that they were running out the entire playbook. I've said that since the Bears game in preseason where we were playing literal playoff football here. Like we were playing playoff playbooks. And you're right. Like some of those plays you're running that to win a football game against in a heavily under and a heavily where the other team's heavily favored. So to me, it's like, this is interesting. And there's something to it. There's something to the fact that I believe Chiefs fans used to always say this to me. And I always thought it was crazy that they're like, we play our best football at the end of the year. It's the most important time. We don't need to show every single formation we have. We're going to beat you in 13 personnel or 12 personnel in their case. Like, to me, there's something to that. Like, the Bills are winning football games running 12 and 13, higher 12 personnel than they ever have, 13 personnel and a fullback on the field. So, like, ultimately, this is silly now. Like, sure, we've gotten to the 4 straight drives Z-Bot mentioned. That had to do with special teams. Like, we kept getting pinned back into the 3, the 5, the 7, committing penalties, random things that they started to call ticky-tack for, like, just the second quarter. But other than that, the Bills' offense has been moving at will. And, like, the Bills will have answers just like they did for Derrick Henry in the playoffs last year after getting absolutely mauled by them in September. So I do believe that Bills will adjust. They get back 33% of players on defense that will contribute. It's not just reserves. It's going to be they have a plan for Hoyt. They have a plan for Ogunjobi. They have a plan for Maxwell Harrison. It's got to go to Cole Bishop to me. He made a ridiculous play to really halt their momentum, and everybody's worst favorite thing is the double dip. And totally took that out of the equation from a guaranteed 3 points to ending that drive. I thought it was a decent play call. They were trying to win a football game. And like you've all mentioned, Super Bowl game for them. So to me, I'm looking at it pretty seriously. It's got to go to Cole Bishop. The safety play was egregious in the preseason. We had tons of problems with it. He is a stud and a stalwart at safety. Who plays next to him next year remains to be seen, but that's exactly what you want from somebody getting realistically his 6th career start or whatever, including the playoffs after some injuries last year. So to me, this is what you want. This is the Sean McDermott progression, and it's Cole Bishop because he needs to make those kind of plays when other young safeties are around the league.
Damn, man. Cole Bishop, dude, And so he's come a long way from people asking for him to be benched just a couple of weeks ago. Look at that. He's hitting that McDermott stride. Jake, player that stood out to you that deserves their flowers.
Yeah, no, I'm with Kevin here. I definitely got to give a huge shout out to Cole Bishop. That one-handed grab, that was insane. It came at such a big moment too. Like that kind of helped the Bills. It propelled them to victory there towards the end of the game. So big moment for Cole Bishop to come up with his first career interception. But another guy I'd like to mention on the offensive side of the football is an old reliable wide receiver, Khalil Shakir. He broke out a long touchdown rush to open things up in this game and his best production of the season here today. So we already know what he brings to the table as such a reliable pass catcher for Josh Allen, but he just showcased it again here in week 4 against the Saints.
That's what I'm talking about. Folks, right now we have 129 of you rocking with us on this Bills Roundtable episode. We kindly ask, I can guarantee you there's probably only 20 like buttons hit. We have to propel that out to the universe right now because we want to continue to grow our family on the Bills Roundtable. How we do that is if we all pull our weight, you hit that thumbs up sign. If there's 129 of you in here, there must be 129 like buttons hit. Let's continue to push this show through the damn roof. And let's let in a Patreon caller. Dwayne is backstage. Dwayne, what's going on, man? What's on your mind?
What's up, guys? I'll be real quick. I think there's something you guys are not discussing, and that's the it factor. It's the team that doesn't really have to play through much till they get frustrated enough to say, okay, we're not going to let this team get close to us anymore. We're going to take over. It's a team you have to play against where you know they're that dog and that you fear you're going to make a mistake. till the end of the game, they make that mistake. We are that team. We are that it factor. Go Bills. I'm out.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. We appreciate that, folks. In case any of you guys are interested in ever calling in, certainly go check out our Patreon. You'd have the ability to call into every single roundtable show, which is awesome. It's one thing that like really oftentimes comes to me when people criticize the defense. One thing I think we could almost guarantee, and I mean, not guarantee, but history has proven we're always good for a turnover. Like we are always good for a turnover with this defense. Sure, tackling is a massive issue. Like last time I checked, I'm pretty sure we're at the bottom of the league for tackling percentage. It's certainly bad. But then again, right? Like we have an undersized defense for the most part. It's sort of a give or take. If you go for more athletic linebackers and corners, like that's likely going to happen. But like that's something that I can always trust this team in doing, is being able to create those takeaways and give Josh Allen yet another opportunity to run downfield and sort of double dip, if you will. But I think we need to transition, because I think the talk of the town and people were pretty upset about how the defense was playing. So I'd like to just go around the table and like we can identify some of our biggest concerns. Are we optimistic that that could change? Like one thing for me, and let me know if I'm off script on this one, I think a lot of people are giving Bobby Babich a lot of hell. But for me, I feel like a lot of what is struggling with this defense is more so execution from personnel than actual play calls. Thoughts on that? Things you'd like to see improved from the defense? Are we doomed? Is this just the defense we're going to see? I'm going to start off with Kevin on this one. Kev.
I mean, to Dwayne's point earlier, and what I was trying to get at with the KC discussion course I was going down was, I don't like. Ultimately, I think that if you look at the personnel from the standpoint of 33% of contributors, in my opinion, roughly haven't contributed yet on defense. You're missing your best defensive tackle who won you a game already. Like we can say, well, will he keep that up? I don't know. Like I guess there's a chance he just falls off and is bad. I guess. I mean that there's a world that exists, but I'm not in that world. So I think getting your number one defensive tackle back, a game changer. He was super good against the Ravens. You get that the difference, but I'm sorry to say, even just this year, the difference between Matt Milano and Dorian Williams cannot be understated. Turn on the film. Dorian Williams was awful. He was awful. He was awful in anything Babich called. He was awful being in safe coverage. He's just awful. Like he's not a good football player. He's a good teamer. Don't mind him in third linebackers when he's not in stress situations. When he's the third linebacker, okay, there's not as much responsibility. He's not good. He's not a good player. It's a miss of a draft pick. He's one of the worst coverage linebackers I've ever seen. He doesn't make up for it with his run. He sees ball, gets ball, and not very good sometimes. He missed on Rattler's rush lanes. He wasn't a good player. He won't be on the field when it matters. That's my point. And if you need to play him, you need to acquire a linebacker at the deadline. That's point blank period. If Milano is out longer term than three more weeks, let's say. So I think it's always a personnel issue. But then you can go back. Why is there personnel issues? That's a fair question, in my opinion. I think that's a fair question than the coaching, than Babich's issues. It's I think DBs are all taking a step. Strong had a really good performance. I think you're getting a lot out of Trey White for what he is. And I think you're growing the safety play, at least with Cole Bishop. And then you're going to always get decent play with Terrell Bernard. So it comes down to a few problems where you plug in Ed Oliver, you plug in Matt Milano, you plug in Michael Hoyt, who's going to be a situational nightmare. He's going to play some 5-tech probably. He's going to do a lot of different things. The pressure is going to get there. Ultimately, I'm feeling pretty good. They need to do something about linebacker. It's a hole right now on the roster, and that's 100% for sure. And it's costing them in many facets of this game. So it's a personnel issue. Why? Can you blame Brandon Beane at some point here? I guess, especially when you could have gotten like a Sanker, or you could have gotten a Watts, or you could have gotten, I know everyone wanted Alfred Collins instead of Sanders. So, I mean, you can make those kind of discussions, I guess. It could be a personnel issue. And Brandon Beane needs to hone in a little bit on what he's trying to do defensively at this stage. But we're talking about December. Let's have this conversation here in 2 months from today and see where we're at with the additions. And they have a role for Ogunjobi, in my opinion, too, who's a nice little third down pass rusher. He really is. So we're going to see how all of this just plays out. going forward. But Dan, they have a linebacker issue right now, and I think one that can get corrected as soon as when swapping out Dorian Williams.
Shaq Thompson, baby.
Number one
Shaq
linebacker in the
Thompson.
league by PFF coverage. So take that for what it's worth.
Man. Shaq, dude. Hey, man. He sent Alvin Kamara to a new dimension with one of his hits on a Sunday. I feel like we don't talk about that.
And they benched Dorian Williams, Dan, to make that point, to try to make it all come full circle. They benched him. That's how bad he was. And they put in Shaq Thompson, who I believe will be the starting linebacker on Sunday if it's not Matt Milano.
Oh, man. Z-Bot, thoughts, man? Like, what are your concerns about this defense? Can it be fixed? And so on and so forth. Go ahead.
Well, the tackling certainly stood out to me on Sunday, that's for sure. Just going back and watching it, too. There were moments where you had Spencer Rattler wrapped up. You couldn't get him down. There were moments where you could have had plays stuffed up, and they wound up turning into 5+ yardage gains. And that's why New Orleans was able to stay on the field for longer than I thought they would yesterday. And even though the Spencer Rattler numbers weren't great, I thought he did a really good job of extending the pocket and running around. I thought he had a good day on the ground, being able to get out of pressure and being able to extend drives. So that's the one thing that they've seemed to struggle with a little bit, is containment and keeping that quarterback in the backfield. And then once he does break containment, getting him down. That seemed to be one of the issues that stood out yesterday. Just the tackling in general did not seem to be up to par. And when you have guys that you have stopped, really, I mean, you've got it shut down for the most part, and they get past that second level, it's awfully frustrating. And I think we've seen that continuously here. I know Kevin mentioned that we've been getting a lot out of Trey White for what he is, and I think that could be argued, but I also think that there's been times where he's a liability. I thought that he was a problem against the Dolphins, especially that touchdown to Jalen Waddle, where it just felt like he was completely out of position. And then yesterday he had a couple of penalties, and because of those penalties, it wasn't just the penalties, but it was the fact that he was really blown off the ball, and it resulted in him getting a penalty. So that's just one thing I think that stood out there with him. And you're wondering what the plan's going to be with Maxwell Hairston when he's healthy. I know we talked about that last week, so we'll see what the plan ends up being and whether or not McDermott thinks he's going to be ready to go, or at least ready to go enough to where it would be better than Tre'Davious White. But we don't know. I mean, there's no way we can argue that. We have absolutely no idea what that will look like, and it's going to be up to McDermott whether or not it looks good enough in practice, or he's faithful enough in a rookie in Hairston for it to be better. The third down defense, by the numbers, it improved yesterday, but I don't know if you guys noticed, there were a couple of third downs where Spencer Rattler either overthrew the ball or the ball was dropped. So I think those numbers were inflated a little bit because of the errors made by the Saints. The third down defense still seems to be a bit of a concern. Just in general, I think that this defense, it has the exact same issues that they've had in the past, really. But the one thing that stands out, and we talked about it, and Dan, you mentioned it, it's getting the turnover. This team is uncanny at being able to force turnovers. It's wild. And yet again, they don't lose the turnover battle. Allen throws a pick, so what? We make up for it with Cole Bishop making an insane play. That was really an ultimate difference in that game. If he doesn't make that interception, who knows what happens? They get at least a field goal there, maybe a touchdown, and this game looks a lot different. So despite the flaws of this defense, the one thing I always walk away with it from, the takeaway I take from it is that despite the flaws, they seem to make a massive play routinely in a moment that matters most. And even though that play wasn't towards the end of the game, like the Ed Oliver forced fumble on Derrick Henry was, this was still a massive play because they're guaranteed points there if that interception isn't made. So once again, despite the errors made by the defense, at least once per week, you can bank on this defense making a game-altering play. And that can't be that can't be overlooked. Even though we can sit around and kind of bang on this defense for their inability to stop the run, and that is also probably the biggest concern right now because they ran the football for almost 200 yards yesterday. And there was a time where I thought maybe it would be an outlier because they went up against Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, but through 4 weeks, the only outlier is the Jets game. And that was the best day they had against the run. That's the outlier, not the standard right now. In the 3 other games, everybody's been able to run the football on Buffalo. But with all that said, you cannot overlook the turnovers forced. You just can't because they're massive and they're huge in helping these Bills win the football game. So this is where, once again, the word weird comes to mind, where a lot of this stuff is just odd, where you want to bang in on the defense, you want to get on them. But then again, I don't know if they win. They don't win the Ravens game without that forced fumble. I don't know if the game is as comfortably won yesterday as it was towards the end without that interception. I don't know if they dominate the Jets the way that they do right off the bat without Joey Bosa's forced fumble. And then who knows what happens in Miami. If Bernard doesn't pick that ball off, they're down in the red zone. They could tie that game up, and it could be a different story. So you got to give the defense, I don't care how much credit you're willing to give them, you have to give them some credit, because you can't just sit here and say, well, they do all these things wrong without saying what they do right. And the one thing that they do right might be the thing that they do better than anybody else in the league. And it might just be one of the most important things in the entire sport, and that's forcing turnovers.
Forcing turnovers, indeed. I mean, I'm not sure if we stole the horseshoe that was stuck up the Kansas City Chiefs' ass last year. But when have you ever seen back-to-back games with roughing the punter calls, completely giving us a new set of downs when our momentum
the
was
worst
all
part was
though.
It wasn't
brutal.
Marginal. He literally put him into another dimension. That's how bad that roughing was.
Yeah. Back-to-back
where we're trying out punters right now. So
back weeks, I don't know, boys. I just think Brad Robbins is making a return, right? we have
Zach Davidson.
We have Zach Davidson, maybe. Who knows? Maybe Commodore or something like that. Who knows? But that was a piece of breaking news earlier today, in case you guys missed it. Jake, thoughts on fixing this defense? Your thoughts, what you would like to see improved? Go ahead.
Yeah, Dan, this is not the 85 Bears defense. That's for sure. I mean, the Bills defense, they're going to give up some points here in 2025. I think we know that by now, and it's expected. The Bills, they're going to struggle with tackling. They have some deficiencies on the defensive side of the football. But with that being said, they come up in the big time moments. Really, the best example I can think of is actually at the end of last season, January of 2025, when they played against the Baltimore Ravens at home in the divisional round. I mean, they forced some turnovers there, and the Buffalo Bills end up winning that game. You're with an offense that's being led by Josh Allen and consistently scoring 30-plus points on almost a weekly basis here. I mean, you're not really asking the defense to do all that much. So if you can come up with those turnovers here and there consistently every game, that's what you're looking for. It's just, will that well run dry? That's my concern. Will they stop being able to come up with those turnovers? Until it happens, right now, I think it's all good. It's not great, but it's good enough to win games. And that's what you're looking to do in the NFL.
And so I don't hate people for having that mentality, but how many games in a row has it been now? With us winning the turnover battle, like high 20s. It's insane. It's crazy. It's hard for me to say, oh, it's just going to stop out of the blue. And we're going to go 7 games, with losing the turnover battle. It's just not how this team is operated now.
That's one of the biggest problems with the regression talk is okay, win. At some point, that's how they play football. You trade missed tackles for an aggressive style, fast defense. That's the trade-off. Literally, that's how they are coached to play. It's not random and it's not luck. Terrell Bernard mentioned that, seeing that on film, and he finally jumped it. That is film study. That's film study. That's not a lucky bounce off someone's helmet or something. That's film study. A sack fumble, really great play by Joey Bosa, not lucky. That's literally. Also had one two yesterday. Neither Bills recovered neither. One at the end of the game though, but none of them were recovered by the Bills. That's unlucky. So at some point, the 4 turnovers have been critical turnovers, and they've all been earned. Cole Bishop, you tell me that's lucky? So ultimately, they've all been earned. It's not that many. G-Bot said 1 a game. That's right so far. It's not a 50 million. It's not, I think the Jags have 8 or something crazy, 10. It's something nutty. That's not sustainable. But 1, 2, that's very realistic. And it's how the Bills play defense. And that's why you see some of the over aggressiveness, or Bosa just missing on an end around, or you saw him miss a couple of times, but you go for the dynamic, toxic differential plays that give the ball back to Josh Allen. And in return, you do miss some tackles. That's just the conscious trade-off that this team has made. And another point of the discussion is the Bills are going for 5-0 for the first time under Sean McDermott. So they're a level that they haven't been at before. And we can blame the schedule all we want, but at some point, it's set 10 years ahead of time. You can lose any of these games. Look at the Chargers. Look at the Chiefs. Look at the Ravens. Look at the Bengals. Some of those injuries in there. But guys, You have to be happy with the way it's turned out. And these games go against the Bills in the past. That's my point. Denver game, too many men on the field. They go against the Bills even at home. Now it's, 14 straight wins at home. They're hard to beat here. And we've seen some really good performances, both by the Dolphins and the Saints. So I think we got to remember those guys get paid too. And the Saints played a lot better football. No penalties in live ball play. That's going to always give you an advantage in any sport, especially football. One, not in the kicking zone, the other intentional grounding, they almost didn't call. So some reason the most penalized team in the league didn't get penalized. That brings it up to neutral, and they barely turned it over, and they played really good special teams, all things I thought they wouldn't do.
Look at that. They figured it out. Folks, we need to give a giant shout out to our good friends over at Picasso's Pizza, folks. Best pizza in Buffalo, New York. If you are not located in Buffalo, have no fear. They are delivering nationwide. Just go to their website, picassospizza.net. Hit that yellow nationwide shipping button, type in your address, and select your deliciousness. It works great for gifts. It works great if you are displaced from the Western New York area and you just want a taste of home. Shout out to Picasso's Pizza for being a proud partner of today's show. Guys, sounds like Vrabel had some things to say after the game. He's riding high. He beat the Panthers. He scored 40 points. He suggested a lot of people are about to be watching on Sunday night. I'm excited. Obviously, we're going to be saving this for Thursday's episode for a look into the New England Patriots. But sentiment going into this game, does this game feel a little scary for you, or are we feeling confident we're going 5-0? Z-Bot, talk to me.
Well, I'm certainly confident in the Bills' ability to go 5-0. Is it a little scarier than the previous two? I think so. I think the Bills are currently an 8.5-point favorite against the Patriots. This past Sunday, they were at one point a 16-point favorite. Against the Dolphins at one point, they were a 12.5-point favorite. So this game is expected to be closer than the previous two, which is insane to think about because they're still an 8.5-point favorite. Somehow that's considered to be closer than the previous two games, but it is. And you look at this past weekend, and this is why this league is so odd, right? It's a week-to-week league. It truly is, because you have the Panthers beat the Falcons 30-0. Just to have the Patriots turn around and beat the Panthers 42-13. The Falcons, who got blanked by the Panthers, they put up 34 on the Commanders and beat them by a touchdown. So what the New England Patriots are right now, I think it's up in the air. They do get that win against the Dolphins that really could have won either way, and I bet you Dolphins fans are telling you they should have won that game. They didn't. Patriots get out of there alive, then they roll Carolina. Drake May has been putting up pretty good numbers. And this team in general, I think, is, they haven't taken that step yet that maybe you were anticipating under Vrabel, but you can tell that the signs are there that it's going to continue to keep building with the new coach at the helm there. Now, this is a huge spot for them and a really difficult spot for them. You're at Buffalo, under the lights, in prime time. The Bills are going to be wearing the rivalries uniform, little added juice there. Want to play well in those unis, I'm sure. And the Bills will have the opportunity to go 3-0 within the division and have their best start under McDermott. So there's a lot on the line here, a lot stacked up against the New England Patriots. But I do think that they'll be able to play the Bills probably better than the previous two opponents here. And with that, I think we'll probably get another game that goes into the fourth quarter and it's somewhat respectable. But I do imagine the Buffalo Bills, just flat out being the better team, should win this one. We'll break it down, of course, later on in the week more in depth. But this is a better opponent, I would say, than the previous two. What that means, I'm not sure, because once again, even though they're a better opponent, they're still viewed to be over a touchdown dog against Buffalo. But divisional opponent, it should be a game. I would imagine it should be a game. But I just don't see how Drake May goes into Buffalo in prime time and ends that 14-game win streak. I just feel like with what they've been doing, how they've been doing it, it's hard to fathom that that's how it ends. But once again, any given week, the Packers were the best team in the NFL. Then all of a sudden, they lose to the Browns, and the defense, who looked unstoppable, allows 40 points last night to the Cowboys without CeeDee Lamb. So the league is very odd. It's hard to get a grasp on it. All that matters is winning, and the Bills are, in prime shape to win again this upcoming Sunday.
And so right outside of the Philadelphia Eagles and the Buffalo Bills, I'm not sure who's a good football team. I'm really not.
Tough to tell.
Maybe the Lions too. I'd put the Lions up there as well. Kev, Patriots, Bills, initial thoughts. Obviously, we'll save a lot for Thursday, but
you know what's crazy though? the Bills are 16-2, like in their last 18 games. Like they don't lose a lot. And we're hypercritical right now because I think there's a lot of a drought era for some of us old heads. And then, there's also the Chief failures in the playoffs. The combination on both ends have kind of pressured these regular season games. And we're forgetting how successful we're talking the regular season right now. This is the regular season football game. This is not January. We'll get into that in a couple of months. But right now, 16-2, one of them was the Rams loss, right? So ultimately, and that was a game where Josh Allen went absolutely bananas and then a crazy game. But it just all around, the other one was the Chiefs division loss, obviously not including the Patriots game where Josh Allen didn't play at the end of the year. But you had the conference championship against the Chiefs, and then you had the Rams game. Other than that, they don't lose much, both on the road. So when it comes down to it, Ken Drake may come in. They're the worst rushing team in EPA, and we'll get into some of this next on Thursday. They're the worst rushing team in the league. So how will that translate with the worst rush defense, the worst rush offense, in my opinion? Going head-to-head, that's an interesting battle. They throw the ball particularly well. The Bills are number one in the league in pass defense. People can't throw on them right now. So what's the reasoning for all of this? It's really interesting kind of battles. But they have a good pass offense. They have a pretty decent scoring offense. If the Bills are able to contain that, I think we should let the defense talk go. If they're not able to, I think that only gets super heightened. So it's a super good thing, a lot to get into, but very excited to see a team that doesn't run the ball particularly well finally against a team that can't stop the run. So we'll see who wins that battle because I think it's key to this game. They're going to try to commit to it, and if they're not very good at it, I think it's going to be a long day for the Patriots, but we'll see what May can do with his legs too.
That is insane you bring that up because I just pulled up team rankings, and you are absolutely right. And so the Buffalo Bills are number one in the league for opponent yards per pass, number one in pass yards per game, in only 125.8. And
think about that. You think the Bills take that? I think they do.
Dude. Holy hell, folks. Oh, wow. Anyway, Jake, initial thoughts on the Patriots. Does this make you nervous at all? Obviously, we'll save some for Thursday, but go off.
It's a divisional matchup, so I think there's a little nerves there, but I think it's mostly confidence when you look at the Buffalo Bills right now, entering this game 4-0. We know that the Patriots and the Bills, last time they played in Buffalo, in Orchard Park, it was a bit of a slugfest there. So I wouldn't be shocked to see a similar type of game here. But if you remember, that was a really, really cold game. Here we got Sunday Night Football in October. We got the new Nike Rivalries uniforms making their debut in Orchard Park. I think it's going to be a crazy atmosphere. We got to talk about Bills Mafia because they make a huge difference at Highmark Stadium. And we know that Stephon Diggs, he's making his return. This is the first time he comes back to Highmark Stadium since his departure. And Mac Hollins, just make sure he walks out of Orchard Park barefoot with a loss in week 5.
Man. I like that, man. Mac Hollins, dude. The gall of that fool. The gall of that guy choosing the Patriots over the Bills. Anyway, folks, that's going to have to do it for another edition of the Bills Roundtable. I'm going to be live on the AFC East Roundtable here in about 6 minutes. Highly recommend you come on over. It's where me, a Jets fan, Patriots fan, and a Dolphins fan talk all AFC East football. We are going to be previewing the Toilet Bowl, which occurs here in just a couple of hours between the Jets and the Dolphins. You do not want to miss it. Z-Bot, what do you got to say to the audience before we set them free?
Yeah, enjoy that hate watch tonight. Jets Dolphins should be some of the worst football you've ever seen. Unfortunately for us, a lot of these primetime games have resulted in that. Last night was the outlier. That was incredible. But you have a doubleheader tonight. You have the Jets Dolphins and Bengals Broncos. Joe Burrow-less Bengals. So that ought to be interesting. Wow. But
that should have been a hate watch too.
I think it might be. We got a doubleheader of hate. We got a doubleheader hate of hate tonight, whatever you want to say. So get the double box up. Yeah, get the double box up and enjoy that. And 4-0, feeling good about it. We'll preview how the Bills could potentially be 5-0 Thursday. So looking forward to that.
That's a beautiful thing. Kev, what's on your mind, man?
Sean McDermott just spoke while we were live on air. He says that Ed Oliver, Matt Milano, and Spencer Brown are all heading in the right direction. So, we'll see. I think Spencer Brown's a go. I think Ed Oliver's a go. We'll see what they do with Milano, but I think those are big game changers on the team already. Harrison still got a couple weeks to rehab, but look, I think that it's time to unleash Maxwell Harrison. I'd like to see him taken off of IR, at least open up the 21-day window. So that's what I'm looking for before we speak next time is that they at least have some sort of plan. I want to see him put into this defense soon. If not, maybe Zbot's right and they go to Dorian Strong at the boundary cornerback position from here on out. Stephon Diggs' return. No one brought it up. So we'll see. Stephon Diggs' first time back in Buffalo. Don't forget last year was in Houston.
Thanks.
So that should be the fun little nugget that no one has brought up yet. I haven't seen talk about too much, but I'm really looking forward to that part of this battle, as well as Josh has something on his shoulders about that one. He pressed a little bit in Houston, so I'm excited to see what he does in this performance. And hate watch these games tonight, as Zbot said. Both games.
Oh, it is a double hater this evening, ladies and gentlemen. What do you got, Jake?
Hey, 4-0, and it feels so good for Bills Mafia. It's something that could make you go through a table. So right now, it's all trending upwards for the Buffalo Bills. It might have been, not the prettiest of victories, but it's a victory at the end of the day, and that's what matters. We're moving on to the next one. New England Patriots coming into town, and we can send them shipping back up to Boston with an L.
Dude.
Let's get it.
Dude. Ship them on up back to Boston. Folks, we appreciate you. If you just discovered the show, please do us a favor. Like this video, subscribe, turn on bell notifications. We will see you Thursday as we unpack Bills versus Patriots on the road to 5-0. See you soon.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.